We have Joe Rodriguez from True Homes Realty.
True Homes Realty Group, yeah.
True Homes Realty Group. And if you can, just give a little bit of background history on, how you got into this industry and what made you go from a real estate agent to, ultimately your own broker.
Well, my previous career, right? 'Cause no one gets into real estate out of high school.
No.
Right? It's usually like the second or third
That's right.
bump in the road. My previous career, I'm a retired captain from Department of Correctional on Rikers Island. I retired young, got hurt, retired at 35, right?
Okay.
So I'm 35 years old, got a pension, but I don't want to sit home on the couch for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Right? Had one kid at the time, my first, he was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew I had to do something, right? I knew I had to take on another career. I just had to figure out what that was, right?
Yeah.
And I know I didn't want to ask anyone for time off. I did that. Right? I didn't want to beg for time off for my son's shows or et cetera. I wanted to kind of run my own ship. And hey, try real estate. Why not?
Right.
Right? And I figured I'd do a couple of years. And it turned out as the years went on, I got better. I grew my business.
Yeah.
And then, everyone has that turning point. Maybe a couple of years in, I was like, you know what? This is not going to be a gig for me anymore. This is going to be my career.
Yeah.
And I've been selling real estate, believe it or not, longer than I jailed. All right. So,
how long were you in corrections?
9 years. 9 years. I got promoted to captain in my 5th. And I was on the upward path.
Yeah.
And honestly, I didn't want to retire. When I got hurt, I blew my shoulder out in a fight. So I got 4 anchors in my arm.
Okay.
And I didn't want to retire. I wanted to keep going. I was going to every therapist you could find, doctors. Nobody would clear me to come back. So at some point, the city's going to kick you off. That's what happened.
Gotcha. I deal with a lot of correction officers who, we were just talking about this. I have new construction builders out in Suffolk County. So what we do is we primarily are trying to gather buyers, but city workers. And so we market in the chief.
Oh, of course.
You remember the chief,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
So the chief, but it for the most part, the builder's old school. He's like, no, you got to market in the in the chief, the actual paper. I'm like, no.
Every city worker reads that chief when it comes.
And exactly. And so he goes, you don't understand the correction officers. They can't take their phone. They have the paper.
Exactly.
And I said, you know what? You might be right here. And sure enough, we get calls of correction officers that are looking to leave the boroughs and go out into the suburbs of Suffolk County.
And still not be too far from Rikers.
Exactly.
I understand, yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's a brutal job.
I can't imagine.
Brutal. It's even worse now, I can imagine.
I went there once to visit a friend. And
it's an all-day affair to visit.
It was an all-day affair. I wasn't really... I was like, this is the last time I ever do something like this,
Yeah, at least you went through the front door. You don't want to go through the back door.
Correct. Do you know? Did you know Ed Frazier? So you know Joe LeBron?
Of course,
yeah. His ex-father-in-law is his ex-wife was Jackie Frazier.
Okay.
So we grew up together. She was Tottenville, I was Tottenville, right? But it was one of the best houses to go into. One, her parents were hippies. Right?
Oh, it's always fun. Yeah.
So that was always cool. They were just down to earth. But he would come home and he was a captain for New York City Corrections. And the stories I learned about, what was the Spanish gang? They had the yellow, I forget the name of it.
Latin Kings.
Exactly. And so he would tell all these stories of just what goes on in there. And
of course.
As a kid from Staten Island, South Shore, you're kind of in this bubble.
You're insulated.
You know what I mean? And so the stories that came out, I was just mesmerized by it. And I'm like, that's wild. And then also Phil Lee. Phil Lee was...
I know Phil, sure.
Phil's, he's a good friend of mine as well.
It makes you realize, right, how the life we live and how we're raising our children.
Yeah.
It's a polar opposite how every one of those guys are raised.
Yep.
And you look at your kids and like, buddy, you don't even know what is out there in the other side of the world.
Yeah.
You complain about certain things.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear complaints because there's kids out there on the other side of that spectrum.
Yeah.
Who will die to be in this house right now.
Yeah, of course.
So it makes you appreciate what you have when you see, these teenage kids coming through the system, and they come through constantly.
Yeah.
Now you watch them come as adults. You saw them as a kid.
Yep.
Now you watch him come as an adult, and you say to yourself, "Damn, was he failed? Who knows?"
Yeah.
But you look at your kids, but you better appreciate what we're doing for you as parents now.
Sure. So my wife grew up in South Beach projects, and so again, South Shore kid. When we started dating, and she's like, "Yeah, I live on Lamport Boulevard," and I'm like, "All right."
Can you meet me on Highland?
And
I don't want to go
I
down the block.
pulled up, and I went, "Oh, really? We really are in the project."
Do I gotta ring the bell?
I didn't have a clue. And one guy I'll never forget, literally I was walking to the door, and he's out there rolling a blunt. And I guess my features, he looks at me, looks down, throws it down, and takes off, and thinks I was a cop.
That's it. Not going back.
No, they literally, my wife had to walk me around the couple buildings because her grandmother lived in one, her aunt lived in the other.
This is Joe. He's
Yeah.
He's not a cop.
This is Melissa's husband. So, but yeah, that was to see what you were explaining. Like, there's a different side of life than how we grew up, and then to ultimately wind up in something like Rikers is wild to me. And I had a couple friends that did weekend stints.
Yeah,
it was like
Weekend Warriors.
The Weekend Warriors. I was like, I don't even know how you get something like this, but they're like, yeah, I got to go back there, and then they come back. I think that almost
Friday,
like
it was Friday to Sunday. Yeah,
Friday to Sunday. Wild.
That's from the judge. Yeah,
I gotcha. That's amazing.
Yeah. So after they retired, right, I'm like, I'm gonna have to. I need a career.
Yeah.
And so I fell into real estate. I love it. Right. I was my first broker for a couple of years. Then I went to my second broker for a couple of years. And both times, towards the end of my run with these brokers, things started changing, right? You start saying to yourself, all right, who's getting out of the business on me? And it happened to me once, it happened to me twice, and I can't let it happen a third time. Right? So now
You're saying people were basically retiring.
Yeah.
Or leaving the industry.
So I said to myself, it can't happen a third time. Right? So now I control my destiny.
Yep.
Right? That's why I opened the brokerage. A little over 2 years, maybe 2.5 years already.
Okay.
And it's rocking. It's a slow roll in this market. It's life. But again, controlling my destiny, right? I'm not asking anyone for anything anymore.
Yeah.
I control the ship, and I'm enjoying it. I really am.
Yeah. What do you find that outside of, obviously you're controlling your own destiny and you have control over what you want to do with your business and how you want to grow as a broker. Do you want to scale with other agents?
Of course, yeah. So I have, I would say about 7, 8 agents now. You got to lead, right? So it brings you back to my correction days. Right? I was a captain of, I don't know, 50 staff members, roughly, whatever it was. And that's my job to lead, right? And I've always enjoyed leading.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying, bulk of my agents are newer agents. That's just really what it is in this business. But I'm enjoying watching them grow, right? Some will grow at different speeds than others, and that's okay, like everything else. But I'm enjoying watching them grow. I enjoy watching their successes. When they call me at 9 o'clock freaking out about something, and I talk them off the ledge, and it's okay, and tomorrow you're going to do this. Yeah. And then tomorrow comes, and it works. Yeah. And then they put a deal together, and I enjoy that phone call back. You were right. Yeah, I'm always right. I'm never wrong.
Right.
But that's the part I enjoy watching their successes. And ultimately, theirs are mine. But I enjoy watching them grow, and watching them succeed, and watching them figure it out. Right? Sure. If you're new to this business, no one's born knowing what an appraisal is.
Yeah, of course.
Or or even the psychology of sales. Right? There's psychology to this game. Even like pitch tones in your voice and things like that you don't teach that online on real estate school. No. So teaching that is fun, and watching them implement it and watching them work for them is fun. It's like, wow, look at that. Maybe I know a couple of things about a couple of things.
Yeah, of course. Do you find that your lead gen, where exactly does that come from? Is that more of just, hey, I've instilled myself within the community and I get my leads basically off of that? Or is it more calculated where, hey, I'm buying or purchasing a lead generation source, and that's how, we start or get my business that way? Like, what do you find is the most useful way?
Initially, listen, I spent thousands and thousands, we all have, on money I put in a fire pit.
Yeah. Wild.
It's crazy what these leads generation programs cost.
Yes.
And we, but a bulk of it is actually organic. So I've really grown to really, I made a video about it, and actually it was a cool video.
Mm-hmm.
You have $1 million in your phone. Everyone's got 1,000+ contacts in their phone.
Yep.
You have $1 million easily. Why are you not working those people?
Yeah.
And then that fear of, I don't want to bother them. Well, if you call them with the right information, the right reasons, you're not going to bother them.
Right.
And that's what I really want to teach my agents. You don't have to, the online lead generation, it works. It's proven it works.
Right.
For a new agent to spend thousands a month, and it's tough. It's tough for them.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to teach them an organic method.
Mm-hmm.
Work your sphere.
Yeah.
That is where, in my opinion, you are going to grow exponentially.
Right.
The like, know, and trust.
Yeah, I find that a lot of the newer agents, like my whole thing, and I hate to sound cliche because I just started doing all of this, right? The social media aspect, and really trying to make sure that I'm everywhere on everyone's reels, whether it's Instagram, LinkedIn, TikTok, or Facebook. But I explained, it was just over this weekend that I'm like, don't be that secret agent, like especially who all of your friends and followers are on your Instagram. I know it's uneasy, or it doesn't feel natural, but I think the way you start to present yourself and just speaking little drips and drabs about real estate that you're picking up along the way, people will gravitate towards that and maybe even hit you up on a DM and reach out and be like, "Oh, I heard you talk about this. What do you know a little bit more about it?" And I think that overall starts to make you not only just, "Hey, I'm Joe's friend from high school." He's really doing it, and he's doing it on a broader scale.
Correct.
And he brings a lot of information in our industry where, again, there's so much respect that I have for authority in NYPD or FDNY. But when they sit across the desk, I become the one that's in charge because I have that information.
They're looking to you like, what do I do?
Correct.
If there's a fire, I'm looking at that guy.
Right.
How do I put that fire out?
That's right.
But when it comes time to do this, I'm the expert.
Correct.
And the clients will, if they feel your authority.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to. It's like you don't have to tell them I'm the boss.
Yeah.
But they will follow your lead if they trust you.
Yeah.
If they trust you and they feel you're knowledgeable.
Yeah.
If it's a mortgage side or a realtor side, they will follow your lead.
Yeah.
And back to what you said, you have to speak with expertise, speak with confidence.
Right.
It goes back to sales, right?
Yeah.
Speak with confidence. A secret agent doesn't sell houses. A secret house doesn't get sold.
That's right.
Right. So when a homeowner says, "I don't want to sign, I don't want an open house, I don't want this," well, how am I supposed to expose your house? I don't want my house on the internet.
Right.
Well, how am I supposed to sell your house? Right. The way to sell a house is put the house on the mountaintop and scream as loud as you can.
That's right.
That's how you sell a house.
Yeah.
And that's also how you get business as a realtor or a LO, right? That's how you have to let everyone know what you do.
Yeah.
And I would say that's what changed. I mean, when I first started really getting into Instagram, it wasn't what it is now. I think that even reels were even like a thing back then.
No.
It was like we were just posting like slides.
That's right.
There was no stories.
No.
But that's when I started, like, people was like, "Oh, look, this guy's doing well." Because other than me picking the phone and say, "Hey, Joe, I just closed the house," and you may not care.
Right.
Now I post about it. You're either gonna scroll past it, but you're gonna remember it.
That's right.
And when it's time to sell, like, "Oh, this guy Joe, he's rocking and rolling." When I was in college, I worked in Costco. I drove a forklift in Costco.
Okay.
When I worked in college.
All right.
When I was in college, I can't tell you how much business I've gotten from my Costco days.
Really?
Tons of it. Every year, I probably get 4 to 5 deals, all just from people I worked with.
That's awesome.
25 years ago.
Yeah.
I haven't seen these people in 20 years.
Yeah.
But we're connected online.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, you know what? He was a good guy then. He seems to be doing well now. Let me give him a shot.
That's right.
And at that point, it's my deal to lose. Once I'm at your kitchen table with you and your spouse,
right.
That's my deal to lose. But that I got in the door.
There's an opportunity. And that's amazing how, things from the past and you having the corrections, Costco, all becomes like this whole sphere that can generate business for yourself, and it's just a matter of how do I break into that?
Exactly.
You
So
know?
how do you break in? So everyone has a sphere, right? I don't want to hear I don't know anybody.
Right.
Everyone's got a sphere. You just have to learn how to break into that.
Yeah.
And you got to stick with it, right?
That's
Like
right.
everyone has a different way they're perceived. Everyone has a different, let's call it niche, right? Everyone has a different way. My personal thing is I want you to know I'm the expert.
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to be a friend? Of course.
Right.
If you're the homeowner, I want to be friendly with you. I want to get along.
Right.
But ultimately, I'm the expert. You're paying me X amount to sell your house.
Right.
You're not paying me to pet the dog.
Right.
I'm going to have those hard conversations with you, and we're going to navigate any problems that arise in your transaction.
Yeah.
I'm going to navigate it because I'm the expert.
Right.
And my whole thing with that is I try to always come off as the expert if it's anywhere I go, and it maybe brings it back to being the captain.
Sure.
Right.
Of course. I think at that point in time, a lot of people with their finances, it's so nerve-wracking for them. It becomes very overwhelming. They're very stressed out. So you coming in and saying, I'll take the lead, and you knowing your craft and being able to educate them puts them more at ease.
Correct.
And being able to say, here's next steps. This is what could happen. This is what I think may happen. And I think just giving them the expectations throughout this whole process really will ring home to them your worth at the end of the day.
Yes.
And being able to say, like, this is why, there's a commission that comes with it, and this is why you pay me.
100%. I'm not ready for free, but
Right.
I'm going to earn. When we're done,
Yeah.
you're going to say he was worth every penny. Whatever that penny is, you're going to say Joe was worth every penny at the end of that transaction.
Absolutely.
But that's also now goes back to your sphere.
Right.
Now that person is now part of my network.
That's right.
Right. And I read something years ago, and I really try to stick to this.
Mm-hmm.
You should be getting 6 or 7 transactions for every one you close from that person through your career.
I believe it. What my biggest difficult part for me working at banks, it becomes their client or their borrower.
Correct.
So
Correct.
there's a little bit of that, and I look back and I'm like, there's so much untapped, potential of all those past clients that I've worked with throughout the year. And it's probably been one of my biggest downfalls is not being able to keep them relevant and not just a transaction. So I stopped that. I now have, in the last 2 years, because of social media, have made sure that if I close something, that there's a way that I'm connecting with them once, twice, 3 times a year, that they know and remember me, because maybe it's not them that changed, but somebody, one of their friends or their families, and everyone has that guy.
Correct.
And that's what you're working for,
But
that opportunity.
Even like today, I saw something like my memories of something from 6 years ago. Like I posted a sold 6 years ago.
Yeah.
Screenshot it, sent it to the guy.
Yeah.
Hey, wait, you believe it's 6 years? That turned into a 15-minute text exchange.
Sure.
How's it going? How's the kids? How's the family? How you liking your new house? They moved out of state. Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. That 15-minute text exchange, guess what? I'm back on top of mind.
That's right.
It's been 6 years. I mean, we've kept in touch even there, but when he goes to work today and someone says, oh, my mother's from Staten Island or whatever,
Yeah.
I'm the guy because I just had a 15-minute text conversation
Yeah.
with him. And it's genuine, right? So people feel, when you're being a salesman, let's call it, right?
Oh.
They feel it.
I agree.
They don't want to talk. They want to talk to Joe.
Right.
They don't want to talk to the salesman. And it's a genuine conversation. I care about how your kids are doing.
Right.
If I ask, obviously I care.
Right.
And that's part of the whole sphere thing. It's just a big network, and this is something they don't teach in any school.
I think just being genuine within life and to the people, it gets you. Yeah, exactly.
It really does.
People really can read that. They'll feel that, and so when someone knows the type of character that you portray and that you have, I think that can really.
And people want service. I mean, obviously we service our clients differently, but people want to be serviced. They want to know when there's a hiccup on the deal. They're looking at you like, what do you do?
Yeah.
And if you're halfway there, if you got that problem halfway solved before they ask you, you won.
Yeah, of course.
You won. I read something recently that said if a client asks you for an update, you lost.
Mm, that's good.
Right?
That's definitely staying ahead of the game, giving what's next, reaching out to them at the appropriate times,
Yeah.
keeping them in the loop. The same thing for me, where the agent referred the deal, but most importantly, keeping them in the loop just the same goes so much longer and gives them that at the end of it, it was like, there's a reason why I gave Joe that deal because I
Seamless.
was I was constantly in contact. It's more of just white noise so that you can go out and continuously sell.
Correct.
And I find that's a true statement. What you just said, I like that.
Yeah. I mean, we've done it. I mean, as realtors, I've done things I once had a listing where there's that downtime in a deal, right? Where like
Yeah.
you're in contract, you're not really going back to the house anymore.
Yep.
Showings are done.
Yeah.
The guy had a dog, whatever it was. He decides he's going to take the carpet up because a dog did it to whatever on the carpet.
Yeah.
He doesn't tell me.
Right.
He comes to the appraiser.
Mm.
There's no carpet. Right? There's no carpet. It's a subfloor. Appraiser's like, this is not going to work.
Right.
And the guy's jumping up and down. So, I bought the cheapest carpet I could find.
Right.
And I'm not a carpet guy.
Correct.
Joe, I took sheetrock screws and I screwed this carpet down.
Oh my goodness.
Right?
You got to do it.
Appraiser came back.
Right.
There's a carpet.
Right.
It's a crappy job, but it's a carpet. And it closed.
Right.
And that guy has referred me, that homeowner has referred me, I can't tell how many, to how many of his friends.
Yeah.
Because it had to get done.
Yeah. So I find it's not, I think it's like the agent kind of gets the bad rap, so to speak, because it's like, what do they actually do? And there's so many stories like you just said, the behind the scenes story that you're constantly putting the deal and keeping yourself one step ahead of the game and then keeping the deal on track and getting it to the closing. Because there's things that come out of anywhere throughout the process
Dog
that
shit
you're
on
like,
carpet.
right, that nobody can help, but the agents there running and getting their rolling up their sleeves and getting their hands dirty to make sure that things continuously are moving in the right direction. So
You don't know of a good agent until you have one.
right. There you go. That's definitely
All right.
so true because I'll always say that not every agent is the same, right?
No.
There's so many variations that you get. And it's just what it is. I'm not knocking any one specific. It's just that you can go throughout this career and even as a buyer or a seller, and you can have so many different types of experiences. And it really came down to that particular agent and what they're about and how they handle their
But
business.
I find that you have people who've been through terrible agents and they kind of burned.
Yeah.
But once they meet that good agent,
Oh, sure.
it's a savior.
Yeah.
And they will refer you and use you personally forever.
Yeah.
You become built into their family.
Right.
Like, oh, my cousin, and it just snowballs, and
That's right.
that goes back to again the network. The network is everything.
Yeah.
The network is not necessarily my personal friends. It's my dry cleaner who
Right.
today was like, oh, the rates are high. He knows what I do for a living.
That's right.
And we
Right.
just had that minute conversation if it was that long.
Yeah.
But again, he knew to have that conversation with me.
That's right.
Right. So your network is everywhere. You just have to realize and you got to grab it.
Yeah.
I go out with my kids and my kids like, oh, Dad, everywhere you go, you know everybody. Goes back to the king of the but it also is just because guys like us are always thinking about their network.
Yes.
Right. Like if you have a W-2 desk job,
Right.
you don't really care about your network.
No.
There's nothing for you, but I need my network.
My kids said the same thing. My wife says the same. They're like, everywhere we go,
My wife hates it.
you shake it.
Every restaurant. She's like, oh God, again. But you know what? Again. But
It's part of our business. My family gets it. They definitely do. It's taken time, but they see how I get my business and
100%.
being part of whether it's the local community, it could be friends and family, just from being around. But it's my job to make sure that happens. If it doesn't happen, there's bigger issues on the table.
If you're not having real estate related conversations on randomly when you're out and about,
Yeah.
then you have to look in the mirror.
That's right.
You have to, because you're not initiating these conversations.
Yeah.
Then was it last year? I was in 2 years ago. I'm in Aruba.
Mm.
I'm in the water, just hanging out, and I hear someone say, "Son, we gotta sell the Staten Island house." I'm like, "Get out of here! I gotta seize this opportunity." It didn't work out. Don't get me wrong, but I initiated that conversation in the water.
That's right.
Gotta take that chance. You know, like I said, nothing panned out of it.
Right.
But I swung that bat.
You know how many times everyone's like, "Hey, you're slow in the business? Go on vacation." The phone just starts to ring.
Rings.
Or you're having conversations in the pool about you're back home and
Yeah.
not looking to sell.
Yeah, I mean, you have, but that goes back to not being afraid. You know,
Yeah.
These are two strangers, or whatever, 2-3 people talking, and,
Yeah.
and they weren't looking for me to interject.
Right.
But hey, you're here. I'm going to take that swing.
Sure.
You may tell me, "Can I curse on this thing?"
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to go fuck off. But I was talking to you. Okay, but what if you didn't say that?
Yeah.
You know, and we had a little conversation, and I'm in my basement. I don't have a business card or nothing like that on me. It didn't work out.
No, of course.
But what they say, you know what? When you go back to your chair, give me your card.
Yeah.
What if that happened?
Yeah, of course.
Right? And the only way that's going to happen
Yeah.
is if I take that shot in the water.
That's right.
You know, that's fear. That's, growing your network.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't always work,
Yeah.
but you got to swing that bat.
Yeah, of course.
You know?
It's always looking for the opportunities. I think in this industry, that's all we can ask for, because for me, it was never the salesman type. It was more of the educational. So
Correct.
With that, it always came that then they realized that I am the expert. And I hated to be the one to be like, you're doing yourself a disservice for not using me, just only not to sound cocky, or, I always want to stay humble, but I know what else is out there. And so there's a difference, whether it's on my side or your side, of the type of person that's going to lead you down that road for your next purchase or what have you. So,
Yeah, listen, things pop up, and I've seen a million things pop up on the mortgage side throughout the years.
yeah, absolutely.
Things pop up on my side. People die mid-transaction. It's. I'm sure it's happened to me.
There's
I'm sure it's happened to you. People
100%.
literally die mid-transaction.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do now? But you figure it out.
Yeah, amend the contract.
But that surviving spouse is now looking at you. Right? Like your role kind of changes.
Yeah,
That spouse now looking at you like, "Hey, Joe, my husband died.
right.
Can I still sell? And what do I do now?
Yeah.
If they still want to sell, what do I do now?"
Yeah.
And they just lost their spouse, so you have to at that point be the authority.
Yeah, of course.
Because they're not looking to make decisions about the house anymore.
Right.
They just lost their spouse. Like, you just have to get them to the finish line.
That's right.
And it's happened to me a couple of times. And I'm
Yeah.
sure, and it's like, shh. So, you have to just be the expert at all times. Because anything could happen.
What do you feel like in the last 2 years? Because I know you coming into this in the 2 years of being a broker, right?
The worst. I opened that office at the worst time in
So
history.
you knew where I was going with
Oh,
this.
man.
So it's not an easy market. I've told everyone for the last 2 years, I've gone back to what I used to do when I first wanted to crack into this industry 12 years ago, and just being relentless of just networking in your face, coming up with new ideas, working harder, smarter with less money. And so I just wanted to get your take, like, the difference that you've seen in this market, obviously, to the years that you weren't necessarily a broker. And it was
2021 years.
correct.
The 2021, we didn't even have to get out of bed.
No.
I could stay home and just knock out listings from my,
Yeah.
But this is what I find now in this market is it's in 21 people would just list. They didn't think about it, right? Because they knew their next purchase was free money.
Yeah.
They didn't care. Now you're going back to the house to list their house. A couple times. It's not just like one conversation. Let's call a photographer and get you up tomorrow.
Right.
We have to think about this now. You're doing a good agent should be doing their net sheet with their owners,
Yeah,
with
of
the
course.
seller.
Net proceeds, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And they're going to study that sheet.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately now people have a lot of consumer debt, right? Because the money was cheap, and money's not cheap anymore.
That's right.
So they have there's a lot of consumer debt out there now, and people use their house as their piggy bank,
That's right.
unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, all right, I'm netting 390,
Right.
but I owe 40 to Amex and I have a HELOC at 60. And so these are things that I have to take in consideration.
Yes.
And now can I buy now?
Correct.
After I pay off Amex and Bank of America?
What are you
HELOC,
left with?
Can I go buy a new house now?
With where does that get me? Right. That's what they're thinking is, what purchase price range does that even put me in, ballpark? Then the net proceeds after you sell everything. And then, oh, by the way, what does that mortgage look like, where the rates are at, what I'm leaving, which is normally they're in the 2.625 to the 4.25 range. And so they have to take all of that in consideration, and has pretty much, it's not a dead market, but it certainly has stagnated the way the buy and selling, and how it was more in a healthy cyclical type of environment. Correct. And people will not move unless they truly have to. At this point.
How do you tell someone that let's say their house is $1 million, right? They have $1 million house, they're at 2.7.
Yeah.
Right. So your next move, typically when you buy, unless you're downsized, your next move you're gonna upscale the house. Right. So now you're gonna add. If you're at $1 million, you're gonna spend what, 1.3. You can't spend 1.2 anymore because it's the same house. Right. So you're spending 1.3. So you're adding $300,000 of principal at 6.5%, 7%.
That's right.
When you're at 2.9.
Correct.
You as an agent, there's just the whole, I can't stand the whole, date the rate, marry that garbage.
Marry the house, date the rate.
Garbage. No one should be saying that.
Great.
Nobody.
Right.
Because how do you tell someone, hey, add $500,000 of principal at triple or double your interest?
They were saying that when I think that the overall consensus was
6 months. 6 months.
6 months, 12 months.
Yeah, 12 months, 12 years.
Even now, this is end of this year into next year.
Yeah.
Of when, and then it's like, well, to what? Fives.
To fives.
And what does that actually do? Well, it's to be told, but I think it'll give a little bit more reasoning for people to be like, all right, it's closer than what I have for the fours.
Correct.
Somebody that's in the 4% and really needs to upgrade or downgrade, they'll really start to look into that.
Well, someone told me something. The 3 Ds when it comes to actually your side of the business: death, debt, or divorce.
Yeah.
That's why people are really refinancing.
Well, so divorce is huge in my industry because it don't matter what the rate is.
You got to buy your spouse out.
Exactly.
Your ex-spouse out. Yeah.
Correct. So that's a big factor. The death obviously comes into play. The affordability aspect of things. And then there's, you got to go through probate and the wills and stuff like that. But
I was talking to someone recently, and she wanted to list a house, but she's at, I think it was like 2.6, some like insane number.
Yeah.
And she wants to downsize, but her thing was, when you downsize, you not only downsize your house, you downsize your budget, etc.
Of course. You get smaller.
So, even with a quick Zillow calculation, on the calculator, whatever, she's like, my mortgage doesn't change.
Yeah.
When I buy if I sell this, I buy a new one. I'm getting half the house, physically, half the house, but my mortgage has not changed. So I'm not downsizing.
Right.
So, again, what do you say? You're right.
Correct.
What are you supposed to say? Marry the house? I'm
going
to use that line on her?
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. You're right. You know what? You shouldn't list.
That's right.
They'll appreciate that. I think the honesty will get appreciated. And when when her time is right to sell, she will appreciate the fact that I didn't push it on her.
No, I definitely agree. And I think, again, there's a fine line with sales that you can be the best salesman in the world, but people want the truth. And I think that you're there for that, and for myself to rip off Band-Aids and make sure that these are the facts that we have at the moment. And then help them make that decision where they're not just doing it on their own, but ultimately it is theirs,
Yeah, but you can't even you can't sugarcoat these things either.
No.
Even as like on a buy side of a transaction, it's a crazy market out there.
Yeah.
If you're working with a buyer, you should be coaching your buyers. Say, guys, they're gonna have 17 offers by Monday.
That's right.
So your offer needs to be strong.
Yeah.
If you're not coaching your clients on that, you're doing everyone disservice.
Correct.
Because when you go to an open house and it's packed, you can't drop an offer 50,000 on them.
No.
You have to, but even they may want to, the buyer,
Right.
which I get it.
Of course.
But as a professional, they're paying you to give them guidance, right? The guidance is, hey guys, full ask, over ask. You want to start full? They're gonna get highest and best anyway.
Yep.
Let's start a full, and we'll kind of rally back in a couple of days. But they're paying you for your guidance, not to get their time wasted.
I see that with specific agents when I'm on the loan officer side, and they're calling me saying, "Hey, we've seen this house, we love it. We spoke to Joe. He's, we all agree we got to go in at this price," and they get that much more of a shot. You get them there for them to get an accepted offer. Whereas you got the ones that don't necessarily have agents, or have an agent, or have multiple agents all of a sudden, and I'm like, and then it's one offer after the next, and I'm like, you guys, then you got to play the game. And the game right now is to be as aggressive as possible.
This is what it is.
Right. With the low inventory, and when you see something and you need to pull the trigger, yeah, you need to be educated enough that you know exactly how to come in with the right offers.
Well, if you're the realtor, you're just wasting your time and the client's time.
Yeah.
If I'm telling you guys, come in 50,000 under, well, I'll get this. And there's 20 offers.
Yep.
I'm lying to you.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, I'm pandering. I'm telling you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
But the truth is, guys, it's listed at 700, offer 710. Trust me. And again, once they're in that house, they'll say at that closing table, Joe, you were right.
Yeah.
And they appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
People appreciate honesty, good or bad.
Right.
On the flip side of it, if I go to list your house and you want X, and I can't find a number to match it at all, the honesty be, listen, it's worth Y.
Yeah.
If you think it's worth X, show me why, because I'm the professional. I can't justify this number.
Of course.
They'll appreciate that. They may not agree with you.
Right.
And they may find someone who's going to list at that number.
Right.
But if it doesn't sell, they're coming back to you.
Yeah. You see a lot of that. You see a lot of people that go through specific seller agreements, and then
especially in this market.
That time's up.
Especially in this market, the listings are tighter than ever now.
Right.
So you just want to take a listing. Oh, I'll list at this price, but you're wasting everyone's time.
Yeah.
And what happens is the seller looks at you like, you told me it was worth this much.
Yeah.
When I said I should sell for $950.
That's right.
You agree with me.
Yeah.
It's your job to tell me I'm wrong.
Right.
You let me list at $950. So, you wasted my, even though it's their number.
Yeah.
You didn't give your input as the expert.
That's right.
Maybe you should have.
Yeah.
Maybe they would have came down.
I feel like the broker opens seem to be helpful when you may be dealing with the seller that
absolutely.
You're a little bit stubborn in their ways, and you kind of need the local real estate agents, the experts in the field, to come in. And I always liked those things. We did a video last week, and it was about a broker open, and I specifically said, like, for me, it's great business because I get to meet other agents, other brokers from other companies that I necessarily don't know of or didn't get any one-on-one interaction.
Yeah.
And so it kills two birds with one stone, where as an agent that you're dealing with the seller, I think it's a great opportunity for you to get that input, present it to them, and be like, hey.
Absolutely. This is what I tell sellers. My opinion of value doesn't matter. Your opinion of value doesn't matter. The market's opinion of value matters, right? So when you do the broker open and you got 15 local realtors all telling you your house is worth this.
Yeah.
You got to listen to the market.
That's right.
We have no showings, no offers.
Right.
But 15 people are telling us the house is priced $50,000 too high.
Yeah.
At that point, you give them those broker open sheets.
Sure.
What do you want to do?
That's right.
And don't force it on. What do you want? You tell me what you want. I want to hear this.
Right.
They can't argue with the numbers.
Yeah, I agree.
People, if you try to force it on them, they push back.
Right.
Take the night. Call me tomorrow. Tell me what you want to do. And 9 out of 10 times, they come down.
They come down, right?
Yeah. I've learned this business. Everything needs to marinate overnight.
Okay.
I never ever react. When I was in correction, when I was an officer, I drove the chief of staff.
Okay.
So he was number 2 in the whole department. I was his driver. And I learned so much from that man. And he never reacted. Everything was thought through the night. Some things had to be on the spot.
Oh, of course.
But most decisions, I put it back in your lap. You think about this. I don't have to think about it. I know my decision already.
Right.
I need to let you need to marinate on it for the night.
Yeah.
And 9 out of 10 times you'll come back to me with my decision. It's part of sales. I've learned that. It's the psychology of life.
Yeah.
But I use it in sales. People need to have their own ideas.
Right.
It's our job to implant that seed in their head. If you tell them like this, your house is this and this, they do this.
Right. Wall goes up.
Wall goes up. Wall goes up, right?
Right.
But if I plant the seed in your head and say, think about it. You don't feel your wall never came up.
That's right.
Maybe he's right. Talk to your spouse, talk to your wife, husband. Hear these broken open sheets. You know what? Maybe Joe's got a point.
Right.
I don't hound you. Maybe Joe's got a point.
I like the fact of letting it marinate overnight. I find that even anything that I've done, if it's an initial reaction, it never really turns out the greatest.
Never turns out the greatest.
You know?
Never.
And my what I wanted to portray or get across just came across
Correct.
so wrong. And unless I sleep on it, emotions are taken out of it at that point where I'm able to come and present my case or my idea of like, no, this is the way I want it. And it gets across to that other person a heck of a lot better than how I initially started it from the day before.
When you speed, you crash.
It's so true.
It's so, I remember I was a new captain and I'm walking with another captain, more experienced than me, walking down the hallway and there's something there was cameras all over the hallways. And there's something going on down the hallway and I go to run. He's like, walk.
Yeah.
And he's like, when they watch that film, you're not reacting. You're assessing the situation.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow. So, and he said, Rod. Everybody called me Rod. Rod, when you speed, you crash. I'm like, and this is 20-something years ago.
Yeah, sure.
And every decision I make, I think of that line. When you speed, you crash.
That's awesome.
It applies to everything.
It does.
It applies to I don't care what it is.
Right.
It applies to every facet of life.
Yeah.
Most decisions can be thought upon.
I've gotten to the point in my career where I think I'm a lot more educated in things. Like, so I relay it to like when my daughter is going through softball and she'll bobble things or she gets nervous. The game's gone too fast. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So when this environment has slowed down enough for me, I'm more in that clarity stage of I'm not like fumbling over things, rushing into things. Like it's more of like, let me take a step back. It's okay to pause for a second.
All you need
really, really see what's going on and then be able to understand what the problem is and address it like that.
Correct. Even like my little guy plays soccer. That's the same thing. When that ball comes to you, don't be so quick to pass it off.
Yeah.
Look around. Take a second, then pass it.
Yeah.
Speed, you crash. When you rush to get rid of the ball, you're gonna pass it to the wrong person.
I like that.
And that speed, you crash line, I say it probably every day to somebody.
Sure.
Either my kids, my friend, one of my agents. I say it all day.
Yeah.
And I kind of live by that by now. It's so there's nothing that can't wait a little bit. Even an email. People in today's society, everybody expects a text to be like, "Hey, I texted you an hour ago." Okay, it was an hour ago.
Right.
It's not a week.
Right.
It's an hour.
Right.
I'm thinking, or maybe I just didn't. You know, I operate on a triage list. I always operate. It's a triage.
Yeah.
You know,
What's worst?
what I need to
High
handle.
priority.
Yeah, I saw your text.
Right.
I didn't ignore you.
Right.
I didn't get back to you yet.
Right.
Because I'm thinking, right? And or emails, even a quick response to email could turn to 100 threats.
Sure.
In a day. It's infuriating. So you know what? Email me. I'll get back to you. I always do.
Right.
Won't be instantly.
So I have it's more of a therapy at this point because in my earlier days I've clicked that send button, but the immediate reaction of and I'm reading it and I'm like, yeah, this isn't good. Let me delete this whole thing. And it was more of just like a therapy session.
Correct.
Of just being able to say it, but it goes back to not being able to react
Just
immediately
take a breath
to
and
it.
slow down.
Right.
I've learned that. Take a breath and slow down. Most situations are fixable. Most things are fixable.
Right.
And then if the deal's going to die, if you can't fix it, then it's just kind of dead.
We joke around because we'll look around the office like something that was, you're wigging out over it, you're stressed out, and then at the end, it all worked out.
Always does.
And so we all look at each other and go, everything closes.
Everything, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
and it's not the case. Like, it's almost 98% that everything closes. But for the most part, like, it's like as big of the issues that there are, there's workarounds. We figure it out.
Always.
And we get the deal to the closing.
Well, as long as if you have motivated clients,
Right.
that deal's closing.
You're right.
One of my agents has an appraisal today, and they're nervous about, what Staten Islanders do. The semi, they put the garage door, they took it down. There's a window there, but you know what? On the listing appointment, she educated them.
Right.
Guys, that may be a problem.
Right.
It may not,
Right.
but it may be a problem. If it's a problem, this is what we're going to do to fix it. At the listing appointment.
Right.
She educated them on that door.
So my parents sold. It's probably been like 5 years ago. And so they had typical semi-attached. It was a 2-family home on the South Shore. Father converted the garage into my room when I was younger. So
course.
I had the
It's a Staten Island way.
inside the garage.
Staten Island way, of
The
course.
window was on the side. Because it was it's a high ranch, right? Semi-high ranch. So you walk through my parents out to a deck that was there.
Yeah.
And the pool. And I'm like, so they were listening. I went, so I just, out of curiosity, Dad, you're not concerned about the deck, the pool, and the garage? He's like, what do you mean? Any permits? Did you do anything? Oh. Well, just saying. Could happen, may not. But you're probably okay because everybody and their mother has done exactly what you did on this island.
A few years ago, I took a listing, and the deck. This guy built the deck the size of Central Park.
Right.
So I'm out there. I'm like, buddy, I mean, this can't be legal. It's huge. It was like 60 feet.
Oh, wow.
It was the biggest I've ever, it was just huge.
Right.
And he's like, no, I just did it myself. He's like chuckling.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, let me guess. When you did this 20 years ago, you knew you had to pull a permit for this. And you knew you had to hire a contractor and do the right thing. And you said, fuck it.
Right.
I'll deal with it when I sell it.
That's right.
I said, guess what? Now you got to deal with it. And we had to pull permits and kind of,
Oh, yeah.
But, he had to meet the maker.
Yeah, of course.
Right? And the Staten Island way is, worry about when I close.
So crazy.
Well, guess what? It's time to sell.
That's right.
And that 65-foot patio you have that goes to the lot line, got to come down, bud.
Right,
you had a good run of 25 years, but it's got to come down. But it goes back to education.
Right.
It all goes back to educating that client.
Right.
The day I took that listing, I stood in that deck, I said, listen, it's going to have to come down. No. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Maybe, hopefully I'm wrong. It'll benefit you if I'm wrong.
That's right.
But I'm pretty confident on this one.
Right.
And he had to meet that maker. Because 20 years ago, he chuckled and said, I'll deal with it when I sell one day.
So crazy.
It's the Staten Island way.
Right, right.
The garages, the fences. People have 12-foot fences. Mm-hmm. Typically, you don't really see a problem with the fences much. I've never gotten a problem like people having too high of a fence.
No, it's not the higher of the fence.
It's the garage conversions.
Garage conversions or the fences over by...
Oh, that happens every deal. That happens on
You got to go get the letters signed by the neighbors.
Oh, God.
And then who's not in good standing with...
Who hates their neighbor?
That's right.
When I bought my house, it's one side of the yard it starts at 2 inches over. So it's their fence over my property.
Yes.
And as it comes across... It bows out to like 11 inches.
Right.
And I'm like, you know what? I don't care. Mm-hmm. I just told the neighbor behind me, I said, when I do my yard over, I'm just going to reset the fence. Like, don't complain.
Right.
I'll leave it alone and, until I do my yard over. And when we did the yard over, she was cool. I reset the fence. Right. And that was it. But it happens every transaction. The fence is, fence guys don't read surveys. They take the homeowner's opinion of where their fence should go.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. So I guess we'll wrap it up in a little bit. Question: being a correction officer, was there a famous person that you actually were in the?
Oh, I saw DMX.
Did you?
So DMX when he was bad though. He was a crackhead DMX. He was
bad.
It was crackhead DMX.
Yeah.
I remember him you wouldn't if you saw him you wouldn't recognize him. He was frail.
Yeah.
It was crackhead days of DMX. We had Peter Gation. Remember, that's old
Of
school
course,
name.
Peter Gation.
We had Peter Gation in my jail.
So hold on a second, because most people
Don't know who Peter Gation is.
And so he had the patch. He was from Canada.
From Canada.
Got his money from the lawsuit, I believe, from losing his
Losing the
eye.
eye.
And was Club USA,
Limelight.
Palladium, Sound Factory. I think those were the major ones.
I think he was in for tax evasion or something like that.
They got him on tax.
They always get for tax evasion.
But it was a lot to do with, he basically
They wanted him out of the business,
Right.
of course. He was,
But those were and again, going back to the 90s of how New York City was, like the kids today don't know what these clubs were.
Mega clubs.
And what it just,
Club USA had to slide. Remember the slide?
it just, to me, I would be working during the day. I worked for Pepsi Cola as just like a helper for a distributor. But I'm reading in the paper from being out the night before in the clubs about Peter Gation and his ownership. And then they raided, and there was ecstasy pills and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
But it was, it's funny how you say Peter Gation, because I would know who he is, but most people
don't. That's why I said it. You're my
That's
age.
right. Yeah,
That's why I said it. But his clubs were something.
Yeah. They were.
I saw. We went to. It was the Palladium. Remember the bleachers?
Yeah.
The Palladium.
Yes.
We're in the bleachers.
Do
And
I?
Run DMC came. Run DMC was on. It was like 5 o'clock in the morning.
That's right.
And Run DMC comes in, and Wu-Tang had just started hearing of this group called Wu-Tang, and they came out with Run DMC. I'm telling you, it was like 4 or 5 in the morning,
It's crazy.
and the place erupted.
Yeah.
But all those clubs, it was a wild time back then. The
Yeah,
secret
absolutely.
doorway, secret.
Well, the Tunnel was one of my favorites. And, so there was clubs within the club. You had the Shag Room. There was a blue light room. It was the dual bathrooms.
Dual bathroom.
And there was a bar in the
In
bathroom.
the bathroom.
And I'm going, this is not okay.
No, there was nothing okay. Looking back.
This was...
Today's world can't handle those clubs.
No. I mean, it opens me up to a lot of things where I'm like, holy
But
crap.
would it even be fun? I feel like it'd be too much of like this with the phone.
Oh, yeah. No.
Would it even be fun back
No.
now?
I don't think so, because anytime you get someone on stage, I think it was like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and like Toni Braxton came out and she was doing her songs back in the day, and it was all her club songs.
Yeah.
But I think at this point you would get people with cameras and just
It wouldn't be
video.
fun.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be. I don't think the kids nowadays know about it. Like they definitely don't know.
No.
And I don't think this generation of like our kids' age can handle that.
So we took the girls to Vegas, and we seen Bruno Mars.
Oh, all right.
So my daughters were like, especially Pieta, was like, Bruno Mars. And I'm like, all right. I mean, where are they playing? I'm like, oh, great, Vegas.
Vegas.
You know?
Can't go to EC.
Exactly.
Fly to Vegas.
So it's a residency too on top of it,
okay.
you know? But we had family out there, so I'm like, I don't know, maybe for the experience, let's do a Vegas trip instead of like Christmas and 50 gifts where half of them don't even get used or open, return. So we were just trying to make it different. And so we did that. And we had an unbelievable time. Wasn't expecting, when we walked up, they were like, your phone? And they put it into a pouch and it's sealed.
Get out of here.
And they give it to you.
Genius.
And so literally no phones allowed.
Love it.
You get there, and then all of a sudden he opens up and he goes, guys, I took your phone.
Love it.
And he made light of it.
Love it.
But everybody was fixated.
You're in the moment.
Exactly.
You're in the moment.
So and that was the first time in a long time where there wasn't anyone staring with their phones and just trying to get
watch a
recording.
concert through your phone.
Right.
You can't enjoy it. You look at it. I don't want to see your phone in my line of sight.
Well, I think that was his thing. You know, for him being like, you're coming to see me, and there's a connection between us and the audience.
Oh, I can't. He don't want to look at all these phones.
Right.
And I spend whatever $1,000 on whatever. I don't know $1,000 ticket, and you're taller than me. You're like this. I can't see the concert.
That's right.
No, bad enough you're a height. I can't control that, but you can't put a phone in my face.
That's right.
Face also.
That's right. So that was something that I noticed, and I was like, wow, that was really cool. And I was curious how the girls, they were in the moment, they were singing, they were engaged. They were
Amazing.
engaged in the whole concert rather
Amazing.
than,
Love it.
taking pictures and this and that. And I get the whole picture thing, but it gets, people can't help themselves.
Well, you don't need pictures of everything,
Correct.
right? Like,
Right.
you don't. It's so yesterday I know there's a niche for every business out
Yeah.
there. I'm watching in a restaurant yesterday, a photographer, a food photographer.
Yeah.
And he's got this backdrop and they're taking pictures of the food. And I'm like, am I in the wrong business? Am I in the wrong? I'm killing myself.
Right.
This guy's taking pictures of a burger. Maybe I'm in the wrong business.
Right.
Like, you don't need, I don't know. I just feel like you don't need, like, every experience doesn't have to be documented.
True.
And people, growing up, you didn't do that.
No. And so that was the other thing that I told my girl. She's like, because they were laughing, even when they were laughing at me, like, he took pictures, he would videotape us even when they were crying. So there was a couple, the backstory of that, because that video went out, was that growing up, we had camcorders, but they were expensive. My family didn't have one. And I always looked at it and seen like old school videos. And I'd be like, damn, to see the family.
Goldbergs.
The Goldbergs. You know what I mean? Like, you're seeing the dynamics. If I can see my grandparents in the living room or in the dining room and us all around, I would love for that.
Yes.
And that's how I started to videotape a little bit more. And then sometimes they'd be crying. I'd be like, oh, you look like an idiot.
But
Let me
every
videotape
moment
that.
I feel every moment doesn't have to be an Instagram moment.
Right. No, I 100% agree. All right. Well, I think that's the end of this podcast.
That was cool.
Joe, I appreciate you coming in, man.
That was cool, man.
You did
Enjoyed
an
that.
awesome job. And, I wish all the best for you. I think
Yeah.
you got some good jewels and dimes to drop. So that's impressive.
Speed you crash. No, forget that. I've fucking been holding that my whole life. I tell you, Joe, I live by that line.
Yeah.
Speed you, like I don't really get upset.
Yeah.
For me,
I got to learn that.
Yeah.
Mine's been Lexapro. Thanks, man. I appreciate
this
it.
was awesome.
Cool.
This was awesome, man. This was.
I'm glad you
this was
enjoyed
awesome.
it.